Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, Lorraine Cooney is a gut health and IBS dietitian and author who supports women through the 30s, 40s and 50s. At a time when digestion, hormones and energy can change dramatically. From perimenopause to busy lifestyles to high protein diets, Lorraine offers clear, practical steps that women can take to feel better. Welcome back to the show, Lorraine.
Oh, thanks for having me here. Delighted to be here.
We're delighted to have you back, as ever. The world of food and fibre and nutrition is it's changing, but there's always something kind of being rehashed and there's always some new angle on it. Fibre maxing is the big thing at the moment.
It is actually, yeah. It's getting a bit of a spotlight, which is good news.
Tell us about fibre. What is it, first and foremost? Let's bring it down to basics for people. That's the best thing to do.
Yep. So fibre is simple, really, in its concept that it comes from all plant-based foods. So you've got whole grains, so things like oats and quinoa, whole grain pasta, brown rice, right? We've got all your vegetables, all your fruits, then your pulses like beans and lentils and peas, and then you've got your nuts and your seeds, a little bit from herbs and spices. But that's the main idea. And what you want is that the fibres in all those foods, but there's lots of different types of fibre. So the idea is that you have foods from all of those groups to get the best sources of fibre into your diet.
Tell us about the types of fibre.
So you've got soluble fibre, which is really important for how we function. So I'll tell you what fibre does. It feeds the bugs in your large intestine. So you've heard of your microbiome. So there's trillions of bugs down there, mostly bacteria, and they feed on our leftover food. We can't digest fibre as humans. We don't have the enzyme to digest fibre. We rely on these bugs to digest the fibre. So they have the enzymes, and what they do is they produce metabolites and hormones and vitamins. That is the output from us eating fibre, and that's where the health benefit comes from. And so lots of different fibre feeds lots of different bugs. So there's probably 100 different types of fibre, actually. The main ones are the soluble, insoluble, resistant starch. There's also things called polyphenols. And within the structure of those plants, you'd have lots of vitamins and minerals as well. So there's like a whole food matrix within all these plants, which are really terrific for our health.
And of course, gut bacteria has become more commonplace, and there's more knowledge around that in the kind of public domain in the last 5-10 years. People are more aware of that now.
Yeah, I guess traditionally we just thought bacteria are bad. They're going to kill us, they're infection. But now we know so much about what the kind of environment and ecosystem of these bugs in our gut. And it's really revolutionised how we look at health and disease, because these bugs are they're attached to nearly every function in the body. They're attached to an axis of every organ. So you might have heard of your gut-brain connection, gut-heart connection, gut-skin connection. They are involved in everything. We don't really know the mechanisms of everything, but we know that they're really important. Yeah, but they are helping us. They're protecting us.
And we are predisposed is the wrong word, but we're vulnerable to low fibre diets, aren't we?
Oh yes, we are dramatically deficient in fibre in Ireland.
Dramatically deficient.
Yeah.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's
Okay.
a huge focus on protein these days, or different types of diets, but the only thing that really hasn't got a lot of airtime, except when you mentioned fibre, Max, if we can come back to that, is fibre. So like we're kind of aiming for 30 grams, but I think that's maybe even a minimum. Like a lot of the studies would use 50 grams. Our ancestors way back with about 100 grams.
Fibre.
Yeah, we're kind of around the 18 grams in Ireland. And what we know with that is that we don't really have the variety either. We might have the same vegetables every week, because like carrots and broccoli. We might just eat the same grains every week. We might have the same vegetables. We mightn't bother with pulses.
We're creatures of habit.
Yes, we are, and that's okay. But I think the messaging and the research would show that if we could just expand a little bit in terms of diversity, that's the buzzword as well, that you can definitely help improve the balance of bugs in your gut.
And that can be as simple as having one new vegetable each week.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's that basic.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's just variety is the spice of life. So try and just expand. So when you do your shopping, that's the best place to do it, is to try and put something new into your shopping basket every week. And it can really add up. And don't forget all the groups. So you're probably okay sometimes with grains, fruit, vegetables, but don't forget your nuts, your seeds and pulses.
What does 30 grams look like?
30
If that's a
grams.
minimum, that's what we're saying. We're aiming for. Let's visualize that for people.
So say for breakfast, you would have a whole grain, you probably have a fruit, and you'd have some seeds and maybe some nuts. At your lunch, you would have a whole grain and you'd have lots of salad vegetables, and you might have some pulses like chickpeas or lentils or something. And then for your evening meal, you would again have a whole grain. You'd have maybe 2 or 3 vegetables, and maybe as a snack, you might have a handful of nuts and a piece of fruit. That would probably get you there.
It's a very varied day,
You
isn't
have
it?
to be dedicated.
Tell you. Okay, so when you say whole grain, give me that. Is that a portion of toast? Is that a whole grain bagel? Is that a
Yeah.
bowl of porridge?
Yeah, a bowl of porridge be about 40 grams, and your average size of bread is like 2 slices of bread is a normal portion.
Okay.
It's about fist size for each person, cooked carb.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Mm.
Okay, so it's about a fist size of whole grain
Yep.
is what we're talking about as a portion.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether that's whole grain rice, whole grain roll, a bagel,
Yeah.
two things of bread.
Yeah.
Because people, they often talk about protein as being the fist size or whatever. And we're talking about the same now in terms of fibres and whole grain carbohydrates.
Yep. Yep. And it's 2 fist size kind of for your vegetables or salads.
Okay. Okay. And then if we're getting up to, so that would get us 30 grams, we think. And if we're stretching to 50, we need to add more in.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't get obsessed about numbers ever. It's not about that. It's just kind of looking at your meals and say, do you have a lot of different types of plants in here? If you do, you're probably doing a good job. Yeah, don't be bothered counting.
Okay, good. Whole grains and plants and colour change.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Chat to me about gut symptoms then, particularly for women through 30 to 50, 30 to 60. What are you seeing in practice?
So when it comes to gut symptoms, the main ones would be maybe discomfort or pain, bloating and gas, and possibly a change in bowel habit. Now, these may not be pathological. They may be just to do with how your gut is functioning. If you have a condition, the most common one is IBS, or I find a lot of people are constipated. That's why I wrote the book. So even if you're not moving your bowels, if you are moving your bowels every day, but if it doesn't feel complete, which I think is the big issue with people, then you're likely going to suffer with more gut symptoms.
Chat to me about that now. So I know we covered the last time you were in, but it's no harm to go there again. In terms of in terms of bowel habits, how regular should we be going?
So normal is like going once every 3 days to 3 times a day. But in practice, when you look at that, it has to actually feel good. When you have a bowel motion, it should feel complete, like everything has left your body and you feel physically good. Psychologically good. You'll feel light. You feel good. And when you do that, you typically have less bloating and gas. And it should also be formed. So it should look like a type 4 in the Bristol stool chart. So it's not too hard.
Oh, we love a Bristol stool. Oh, yeah. If you're listening in, Google Bristol stool chart. It's fascinating.
So not hard and not too soft, just right in the middle. So if it feels good for you, you're having a good bowel motion. However, if you have a bowel motion and it doesn't feel complete, then I think that's a real key for you to increase your fibre intake.
Okay, so they're kind of signs to increase fibre.
The other ones are cravings, maybe, that you asked for. Cravings, energy levels and fatigue is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
So fibre really helps with satiety and helping keep your blood sugar steady. And then, can't think of what else. Maybe poor sleep has a knock-on effect to all of that if you have issues sleeping. What
are the best sources of fibre? I know before we came on air, we were chatting around adding a tin. I was talking about beans and pulses being really handy. Like, is that something you were saying that in Ireland we don't eat a lot of kind of pulses and beans and stuff? Is that a source of fibre that people
It's a
overlook?
magnificent sort of fibre, yeah.
Okay.
There's specific fibres. It's a galacto-oligosaccharide, so it'll feed certain bugs.
Say that again. That's a big long word.
It's GOS. And it's really
That was
helpful
great.
for protecting your gut lining. So I think what I would see with beans and pulses, and a 10 is great, is that when people might do that, they may experience more bloating and discomfort. So the issue is about how to increase fibre in your diet to tolerance.
Okay.
So it's a great tip. And if you get the cans, you can drain them out and rinse them really well.
Rinse them, exactly. Yeah.
Rinse them under cold water, and it kind of reduces what we call the fermentability side of things. And then you can teach your bowel to actually tolerate fibre. So these bugs are what breaks down the fibre. So you want the bugs that like beans and pulses. So if you don't have beans and pulses in your diet, you mightn't have the bug that breaks them down hanging around. He might just not be doing his job, or he might go and sleep somewhere else or find a new
People are
job.
looking at their tummies now and thinking, I'm shutting to the bugs inside.
Yeah, but they are in there. We can't deny that. So if you want to learn to teach your bowel to tolerate beans, for example, it's a good one, is that you take 1 tablespoon of those rinsed beans and add them into a meal every day over the week. And that will teach the bug to learn how to do its job again. And then you can increase the amount, maybe like say 2 tablespoons the next week, then 3 tablespoons and so forth.
I love how you talk about gut bugs. It's very cool. It's very clever. You're giving them little personalities and everything. It's very cool. It's good. IBS symptoms. I want to chat about that a little bit in terms of sleep, stress, that kind of lifestyle picture with regards to IBS.
Massively linked, because your gut and your brain are in cahoots together. They're talking to each other all the time. So what your brain tells your gut can behave differently. And when your gut tells your brain can go into danger and exacerbate what you're feeling. So there's a huge connection with the IBS type symptoms, and because it is a disorder of the gut-brain interaction. That's its definition now. So if you're trying to treat IBS, it's good to increase soluble fibre and look at regulating your bowel, but it's also important to look at your lifestyle in terms of stress, how you would relax day to day, how you manage stress. Are you too busy? Are you eating on the fly? Are you not sleeping well? All of those things can directly impact your symptoms, believe it or not.
And of course, from an IBS perspective, if you have concerns, self-diagnosis or Dr. Google is not great.
Oh, God, no. You
No.
know that's not. But yeah, no, it's good to put it out there, because a lot of people will self-diagnose. But there's so many digestive disorders that may look the same. So it may be celiac, it could be an inflammatory thing, it could be a bowel cancer. There's sort of, you don't say I've got a bit of bloating and it's just IBS. Don't ever do that, because we have to investigate a little bit. So you go to your GP, you can explain your symptoms in as much detail as possible. They should run a blood test for celiac. They might run some blood tests for inflammatory markers, or might do a stool test. And then you can decide where you might fit and what your diagnosis might be, because everything can be treated and managed really well, no matter what condition that you're suffering with.
Is that a challenge for you professionally? Influencing or online content advice?
My biggest bugbear is that they push supplements.
Oh, yeah.
So supplements will cure your IBS or improve your gut health, particularly like probiotics or supplements. Like, everyone's taking magnesium, but you get magnesium from food. You get it from loads of nuts and seeds and whole grains, particularly for females. They're your best sources. And supplements will never get you right if you don't have a good baseline diet, a good foundation, particularly with plant-based foods. So I think that's probably what I see, is people wasting their money on supplements when you can
Eat it.
Yeah, you can eat it. And even things like regular meals, skipping meals is not favourable for your gut bugs. We can anticipate food. Your gut bugs are on a sleep cycle as well. They have their own circadian rhythm. We anticipate foods. The most boring message in the world works. Regular meals. Have a breakfast, have a lunch, have an evening meal. And you typically have better nutrition overall.
That's what our gut likes.
It loves it, yeah. Over and above most things.
Consistency, regularity.
And then it helps you meet your fibre requirements, because you really do need those 2 to 3 different plant-based foods at each meal. So
Well, just listening to your description of that, I think people will really get that sense of there's a bit of time in this, in terms of, getting the correct quantity of fibre in.
Yeah, it's really important, but just really go slow. So if you had an intern here working with you, they'd be enthusiastic and they'd be, dying to do the job. And then if you went off sick, would they be able to do your job? No, because you've spent years training to do your job. You're really good at your job. So you have to train your gut bugs nearly the same. Think of them like an intern. If you add in a new fibre food, you want to go really slowly, increase at your own pace, try different varieties, but don't give up. Just keep going to try and diversify your diet, because you train your bugs to get better. And when they're better, there's more of them, there's a better balance of them, and then they're more resilient to things like maybe further down the line. These are your metabolic health, your heart health, your mental health, your hormone health. They protect you.
Fibre maxing.
Yeah, so that's a new
Let's chat about
hashtag.
that. Yeah.
So it's took over on socials as a way to kind of, you have to maximize your fibre as much as possible. And I think that's good, but you can do that, but a lot of people are going from 0 to 100 overnight.
I figured you were going to say that. Yeah, it's that rate of, it's the speed at which they add in.
Yeah, so big, massive chia seed puddings and maybe fibre supplements, and just trying to get this 30 grams, but just eating bucket loads of something, of one food, but that's not really how you do it. You have to, I think I'm just repeating myself now, but just take it back to increasing slowly with a diversity of plant-based foods. It's not just one food. It's not just chia seeds that's going to improve your gut health. It's all types of seeds, all types of nuts, fruit, vegetables. But the key is to really slowly increase, so you allow those bugs to adapt.
Chat to me about processed foods then, maybe ultra-processed foods and gut health.
So if you buy a sandwich in the supermarket and you, let's make it sensationalised, you have some crisps and you have a fizzy drink.
Lots of people do.
Yep,
The
maybe.
breaded chicken roll. Yep.
Yep. So
Yep.
you have that. Or if you went home and had a whole grain sandwich with some chicken breast and added in some soup and maybe had an apple afterwards, and you compared the nutritional profile of those, there'd be a lot more processing in the sandwich and it would have stripped it of fibre. There would be minimal fibre in that meal that you'd get out, whereas there'd be lots of fibre and diversity in the home cooked version. So the ultra processing is a tricky story, and there's a lot of scaremongering out there. But it's not just
There
the
is. Yep.
piece that's added in; it's also what isn't in there. So you'll add in maybe the emulsifiers or additives to keep it fresher for longer. You might add in some salt. It might be higher in sugar, higher in fat, but it will also be lower in fibre.
And why did they strip the fibre out?
Well, it's usually just they don't have the variety of plants in
Oh
there,
yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah.
it mightn't be a whole grain. Yeah, so it's a complex story, the ultra processing. But if you look at the full picture, it's just it changes the whole nutritional aspect of it, and you will lose those phytochemicals through processing. So these are other plant aspects that kind of help with the bugs.
So not ideal.
Yeah, and it's not as satiating. So a big thing
Yeah.
with these ultra processed foods is that we overconsume them because they're not very satisfying. So if you had a packet of biscuits and a bag of apples, if you sat down with the biscuits, you could probably keep munching the biscuits. But if you had an apple, you're not really going to have 2, 3, 4 apples.
We've all done that. They're addictive. High protein diets still very trendy.
Yeah.
Impact of those on the gut.
Yeah, God, I was in one supermarket recently and I saw the high protein oats and I'm just like, oh, I just think it's
protein oats.
just think it's gone too far. So they add some skimmed milk powder to make it put protein on the packet. I saw high protein pasta. It's just so
Go on.
annoying. Yeah, it's just so annoying.
Wow.
But so I would never think like oats or pasta is a good source of protein. You think meat and chicken and fish and eggs and your dairy, right? They're good quality.
There's a bit of protein in them. But
Yes,
not,
there is.
You know,
Yeah, but it wouldn't be
it's
your.
not a protein source.
It's not.
A
Yeah.
primary protein
When
source.
I look at oats, I think fibre, prebiotics, polyphenols, resistant starch, beta glucans, vitamins, minerals. So that's kind of what they provide. But with the protein message, people seem to be like obsessed about protein. Everything protein, 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 and it sells. You can see that in supermarkets. So when you up your protein, I think the piece that is forgotten is that you probably reduce your fibre. So nobody's really that deficient in protein, in my view, but they're very deficient in the fibre. So it's the balance. Dietitians have been harping on about this for years, but
Listen,
good
I know,
protein
absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah.
lots of diversity of fibre foods, that's your ideal diet.
And those food that are high in fibre, the reason they fill us up, is it the volume or is it the fact that the gut-brain axis, that they talk, it just triggers a signal to fill us
So
up quicker?
yeah, they can bulk and they would help you feel fuller in your tummy. And then when they reach your large intestine, where those bugs are again, the bugs play a role in regulating your appetite hormones, such as that GLP-1, which we know all the medications are based on, regulating that hormone. So
Chat to me about GLP-1s and constipation now. Is there any, are
well,
you seeing any of that in practice is my question.
well, you would, because what happens with GLP-1 is that it makes you feel fuller sooner. So
Yes.
you're going to be eating less.
Yes.
And maybe again you're veering towards the higher protein diet to help maximize weight loss and you're missing the balance. So if you're eating less, it may be that you're not having as much fiber in your diet. So that will reduce the bulk and that will reduce motility of how things move through your gut. And then it may make you more at risk of becoming constipated.
Interesting.
That would be my view on that one.
Well, because they're very prevalent and they're everywhere. The use, I've never seen anything take off. Potentially the Atkins diet, when it first came out, was kind of similar. Everyone went on it. And now GLP-1s, from what I can see, the prevalence of usage is unbelievable.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot to do with the diets. Over the years, there's every sort of diet, particularly like high fat, then high protein, then low carb. But what you see, if you look at all of the studies longer term, say 12 months, it doesn't matter which one of those diets you went on. Add in intermittent fasting in there and a bit of keto, a bit of paleo, all the same. If you look at 1 year, there's no difference really in the weight loss. But what we can see is that if you have fibre in your diet, you tend to have better handle on your satiety, cravings, blood sugars, how you feel, your energy, your mood. So I think it's protective to have fibre on any weight loss plan.
no matter what,
including
no matter what you're doing.
GLP-1s, yeah.
For those listening in, I think they're probably going to know what your tips are going to be. If you'd one simple takeaway tip that you'd like to give them, the floor is yours.
If the topic's on fibre, I would say just diversity.
Or generally, not even
Yeah.
fibre though, but generally.
No, I think it's the missing nutrient,
Yeah.
and I think most people can, small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to have bucket loads of these foods, but when you go around with your shopping trolley, try and diversify in terms of some of these foods: grains, fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, pulses.
I think that's a brilliant tip. That idea of every shopping trip, put one new veg in there. Because anyone can do that. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a game changer now.
And try things you may have tried before, or something seasonal. They're interesting foods. Usually taste good.
Have you come on a totally unrelated fibre topic? Have you come ever across the pineapple, the signal, the position of the pineapple in the trolley?
No,
Tell everyone this because somebody told me. It's brilliant. So, do you know what pineapples are a symbol for? Swingers.
Oh, right, okay. I think I did know that.
And if the pineapple is up in the trolley, it means you're open. And if it's down in the trolley, it means you're closed.
Okay.
To potential swinging. So, folks, if you are putting some pineapple in your trolley, just be very careful of what position the pineapple, whether it's up or down. Somebody told me that recently. I thought it was brilliant. All right, thank you so much for coming in. Brilliant. Great
Thanks,
topic.
Karl.
Great content.
Yeah.
And, folks, really hope you enjoyed today's episode of Real Health with me, Karl Henry. As ever, you know where we are, at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealth@independent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. Watch those pineapples, and we'll see you next week. Slán go fóill.